welcome back to another episode of Geekified. We are still in the month of October, so you're getting another Halloween video. And we've picked one of the ones that was in the top 5 of a team. We heard it a good few times. And tonight, we're going to sit and discuss the legendary Wes Cravens Scream. Now, back in 1996, this one came out. You have the breakthrough star of Neve Campbell, who just finished Party of Five and moves on to get what would launch her career. She did go a little bit quiet after a while after that, but this went on to number 4, and only a month ago, we heard number 5 is on the way. So we thought we'd go right back to the start. So most of us, the Geekified team, most of us have watched ones that weren't fresh in our head. So I can guarantee you, Sean here will probably be able to tell you what colour the guy in the back of the classroom in the third act of number 3 was wearing and what type of pencil he had in his hand at the time. Sean,
not pencil.
Sean knows a wee bit about this. But
it was a quill.
I have literally just finished. I've just finished 4. I've actually not finished it. I've probably got about 3 minutes left of the ending, but I do know what happens. I've watched these all quite a few times, but we're going to go back and discuss Wes Craven and Scream. So we'll go to you, Nathan, first, because I know this is going to be an interesting one. We're not no point starting. So what do you think? You watched Scream before, didn't you?
Yeah, I watched them 1, 2, and 3 when they first came out. 4 I've not seen yet. But I liked Scream 1 when it came out. You know, it was a bit of a fresh take on the sort of more light-hearted look at the sort of horror genre, slasher flick, however you want to describe the film. And I thought it was pretty good, but the rest of them I thought were terrible.
Every one of them,
it's just the same stuff, you know, over again. You know, they're trying to be clever, you know, especially in the third one, you know, and it's the film, and then what's happening in the film is what's in the film, and it's just like.
Yeah, I don't even think fans of Scream like talking about the third one.
Yeah, even the second one, it's just like, you know, at that time there's a few of these sort of franchises sort of copied Scream, as it were. Yeah, you know, I Know What You Did Last Summer and all these ones, and it's just the same. The first ones are always okay, and then the next ones it's just formulaic nonsense.
So you enjoyed the first one, but you feel as if it went into the franchise, it was kind of ruined.
And that happens a lot with horror. I mean, it happened with Wes Craven with the Nightmare on Elm Street films as well. Mm. And it happens with a lot of horror films. It's like the first one's pretty good, so then they see a way of making money and they carry on making them. I know that Scream originally was going to be a trilogy because they're making fun of the sort of whole horror thing, and I understand that part of it, but I just think not for me.
Oh, okay. Interesting. This is why I came to you first, because I didn't know your opinion roughly on that. That was a good way to kind of start, because I'm a massive Scream fan, huge Scream fan. So, because if you've watched my top 5, you'll know that was my number 1. So, going over to... Oh, I was just waiting until you released back on screen before I said it.
I dropped the baby monitor.
Yeah, dropped the baby monitor. Can you imagine if a voice came through that now and just went, "Hey, Sean, what are you filming?"
It's muted, so I'm just shutting myself if a voice came through. I'm just watching for the wee lights.
Your baby's had enough. He's like, I'm doing that.
So how do you feel about the franchise world of Scream?
Me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was... I was doing it on camera there. You know what I love Scream? I love the first one, obviously. I need to check. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure that horror films at the time weren't coming out in the cinema, not to that degree anyway.
Yeah.
So it totally paved the way for everything from Blair Witch to Saw, Paranormal Activity, any kind of horror that came after that was because of Scream. So, I mean, I love the first one. The second one I loved at the time, but having rewatched it recently, there are bits of it that bug me.
Sorry, number 2?
Yeah. There are bits of it that I find a bit cheesy, and I kind of feel like the ending, like the obviously we're giving away things here, aren't we? There's like...
It's all right. It's
Yeah,
again.
if no one's watched them
Right.
by
I
now,
said this.
Like, it's been a long time if you've not
Yeah.
watched
I
it.
said this for the Halloween one. If you don't know the ending of Halloween, I'm not putting a spoiler alert up for a 40-year-old film. This is a 24-year-old film. I'm not putting a spoiler up.
Like, well, so the reveal of the killers, right? I feel like it should be difficult to judge to guess who the killer is, but it should also be that someone can guess who the killer is. Like, if you watch it and you see the clues, you could guess who they are. So I hate, which I think Scream 2 does, where it's basically a character who barely appears. They're given like 2 or 3 scenes, and then they show up and they're the killer. Like, nobody's going to guess it's as a killer because they're hardly even in the film. So with the first one, like the 2 killers, they were main characters. You had to really watch it and go, right, so he's not in that scene so much, but you could tell who was doing what if you watched it back. So that kind of annoyed me. And 3, I hated 3 at the time because I just thought it was so crap. But actually rewatching it, I like at the end whenever Sydney gets like she basically almost becomes the killer. She gets shot, then her body disappears, and she turns up for one last scare, even though she's not the killer. But you know what I mean? She does the whole thing and stuff like that. So I liked wee things like that about it. And then the 4th one, apparently I was reading like the 4th one is what the 3rd one would have been if Kevin Williamson was involved, and I just don't like it. I think it's kind of a bit of shit.
Yeah, like the 4th.
Sorry.
That's all right. We've already had fuck arsehole and all that in every other podcast, so we're going with an adult rating on this.
it's a horror genre, so it should be.
Yeah.
You haven't had any complaints for kids then, though?
Not yet. Not yet.
We Timmy's wrote in like.
You watch dog, Sean Wilkie said that fuck word.
plenty of time, Sean, to offend children. We're not even 20 episodes in. But yeah, I completely agree with you on most of that. Actually, I just thought 3 was a fucking mess, to be honest. Like it had good moments in it, but just like quite intuitive moments. And then,
would you know that Neve Campbell apparently was only available for 20 days? So she's not in the movie as much as she should have been as well. So, like, Patrick Dempsey was given the job the night before filming.
Sorry, he was like a used wet wipe in that. And I don't think he's a bad actor. He just didn't suit being he's supposed to be a kind of detective, rough, somebody you should have been looking at thinking, might be him, obsessed with films and all that.
In around about 2000, you could have got something like Billy Zane to play something like that. It would have been probably much better.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what you're saying, Sean, about how you can guess certain people and how you shouldn't be able to. That should have been one of the things that I felt they really missed in that film, is that you could have guessed it was him, but you didn't because it's Patrick Dempsey. You're like, oh, so he's not going to hurt MD. You know what I mean? He just doesn't look like a killer.
It wasn't him?
No, I'm saying, but you should have been able to think it might be him.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. I'll say, sorry, I get you now. Yeah, so
because I'm saying you just didn't. You just knew it was just. Let's say he was like, I'll use wet wipe in it. It was just like, meh.
So it should have been him then. So because that would be surprising.
That would have been quite a shock. Anyway, over to you, Tony. What did you think? What were you thinking about them? What have you watched? What have you seen?
Yeah, it was 1996. I was 12 years old, so obviously I didn't see it in the cinema at those times. So obviously seen them slightly later on. I remember us rewatching them. I remember the first and second one, clearly, and it was really interesting watching them back because I think it's almost like a linchpin of kind of what Sean was saying. Of cinema at the time, 1996, what was going on. Horror wasn't a big thing. It had been in the past, and it was kind of like a rebirth of Halloween movies, of horror movies. And so you've got to give it thumbs up for what it did for that, And from that, it's given us great movies as well. But, you kind of, it's kind of verging on the / teen movie also birthed as well. Teen movie aspects when teenagers at that time there's nothing else to do and start going, especially in the UK. The UK as a teenager you didn't really do much apart from hang around the parks, but then suddenly you were allowed to go to bowling alleys and cinemas, because you've got to think about infrastructure in the 90s in the UK. This is when people started building big cinemas and bowling alleyways and shopping centres as well.
Yeah.
So teenagers had a thing to go to in the UK. You go shopping, you go to the cinema, so it's a teenage rebirth of cinema, and then it kind of linked in with the horror. But obviously, you go back, obviously these films haven't aged well, and you're thinking, I actually preferred the second one than the first.
Mm.
But what you guys just said about, when I watched the first one, I was like, obviously I remember who the killer was, but then it's so bloody obvious. But then again, the second one, you know me, I love red herrings. I love second guessing myself. And in the second one, there's not enough of those two who are the killers to know that they're the killers.
Yeah.
Which is kind of annoying. You want to go, oh my God, I did not expect that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because I think like you should be. The whole point of the first one was kind of trying to work out who it was, because I mean, I think most people did roughly guess who it was going to be the boyfriend.
Yeah.
But I was surprised at the second person in the first one. I remember that.
Yeah, because I don't think that had ever really been done.
Yeah.
Obviously, people would always go, oh, how could they possibly be in the same place? Or these, get about.
Yeah.
So that was a good,
have a double
at the time, a good, fresh, original way of doing it.
Yeah.
Because I think people probably guessed either one of them at any point in time, but didn't think in any way that it would be two of them.
Yeah, I think that for me was a surprise at the end of the first one. I was quite shocked that it was a second killer. I was like,
yeah,
that makes sense. It just all kind of came, and then I was impressed.
Yeah.
Well,
but then come the third and fourth one, it's clearly it becomes a franchise to me. Then 1 and 2 films to me is not a franchise. Then it was like, oh, let's make a franchise out of this. We can sell masks. We can sell so much stuff. Yeah. Then that's when, and we've had so many copious amounts of conversations about studio franchises and toys and how they affect films as well.
Yeah.
But one thing I have to say, the cast in the second, you look at that, there's a screenshot of that classroom, and there's like some people who went on to be massive stars.
Yeah, because you're in the classroom.
Yeah. And the one thing I wanted to ask you guys, because you know more than me, is obviously the first film, the second film, they must have knew that they were going to be filming them back to back.
It was always going to be a trilogy. It was always going to be a trilogy. I was reading about it today. It was always going to be.
There's no way that they would give, a certain Marvel character actor this tiniest of roles in the first one, and give him a little bit more in the second one, because he's one of the biggest stars now.
Who is that?
Sorry. Just keep talking. I'll come back to that one.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I know the writer, whenever he put it forward a 5-page document or something about the second and third one. But what I found, like, because there was a dummy script for the second one online to try and steer people away from it, and but a lot of it's the same, or I think a lot of it's like earlier drafts or whatever. But in that scene, in that classroom scene you're talking about, literally in the other version of the script, there's Sydney's in the class, and Mickey, and nobody else that's in that scene. None of the characters. Randy's not even at school, in college, and like that in that script.
Yeah.
Which is weird for me to go from seeing that to then watching the film, and you've got Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jerry O'Connell, Timothy Olyphant, Joshua Jackson.
Yeah.
It's just like
that for me.
That's a wonder cast.
That scene sums up for me what the whole satirization of the whole industry of horror was about. Each Scream was supposed to be satirically analysing horror films, and those classmates were the only ones in 2 that were actually doing it, apart from Mickey. Mickey was obviously obsessed with film, obsessed with killers, obsessed with everything, so he was going to go on and become a kind of serial killer and get away with it on the basis of movies. But that scene, for me, it did feel like it was shoehorned in to a certain extent, because it was the only thing that was analysing horror, if you know what I mean, by saying, right, what do you do in a sequel?
Yeah.
Apart from Randy, Randy carried it off.
I loved that breaking the fourth wall, though. They obviously, maybe my mistake, did that in the first. On the second one, with that scene, they did it, and having that character, but once they killed him off, it was like, and then they had the whole theatre aspect of the second one.
Yeah.
Which was breaking the fourth wall. It's kind of like and they did it really subtly as well, with the whole Friends aspect going on as well. So obviously you got a big Friends actor in it, but in that second franchise, she mentioned, I think, most of all the Friends actors.
David Schwimmer started.
The Swimmers, and she mentioned Jennifer Aniston as well, being her a sex tape body double.
Okay.
Well, and it was like, let's really break the fourth wall, and this happening, or we're filming, but you're watching us, and the whole about everyone's watching everyone, and what we're seeing is happening, which I liked as well. So
one thing that actually annoyed me when I watched it, because I only watched the second one this morning, and Randy gets a movie quote wrong.
Does he?
Yeah, I don't know if that was in purpose or not, because the guy were talking about Alien, talking about sequels in that classroom, and he said, and the guy says, Joshua Jackson says,
he should not get a movie quote wrong.
Joshua Jackson, we're talking about sequels, he says aliens, then he says, get away from her, you bitch. And Randy corrects him and says, no, it's stay away from her, you bitch. And says to the teacher, this is film school, is it not? And then they all laugh when the quote is actually, get away from her, you bitch.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe it's sort of subtle making fun of the geek who doesn't know as much as he thinks he does.
Yeah.
Did anybody else notice that Mickey gives himself away twice as a killer?
Does he? How?
Well, I think he does anyway. So the first time is that he says to Sydney, why did Derek go back in the house? But he wasn't there, and nobody told him that Derek went back in the house. And Sydney even looks at him as if, how did you know that he went back in the house?
I seen that. Yeah, she went. Yeah. And I went, and I never noticed
she
that.
She kind of looks.
And I thought, oh, she knows who the killer is straight away.
And then Randy, in that classroom scene, Randy says the geek should get the girl. And just before he gets killed, the killer says, you'll never get the girl, which gives away that in his class.
Okay.
But then at the same time, I always thought that was Mrs. Loomis, because he gets killed right after saying shit about Billy. So you assume that that's because they're pissed. It's his mum, and she's like, how dare you say that about my son, and kills him. But then she wouldn't have been in the class to hear that. So either that's a mistake in the script, or it's given away that, again, one of the people in the class is a killer.
I like the idea of that. I like the idea of like actually giving you clues that you don't even know, and even the person doesn't get.
Yeah, so you didn't get it the first time. It didn't ruin the film in any way, but watching it back, you can go, oh shit, he gave himself away. I quite like that as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going back to that actor, sorry. And I apologise to the fans, and I should know this. Is it Liev Schreiber?
Yeah.
So did he get cast just in the first one as a really small bit part?
They must
have went with a sequel and give him.
Yeah, they must have known he was going to.
Because
I would assume they would just ask somebody they know would be working and doing relatively well. Yeah. I would assume. But
he wasn't that well known at the time, was he?
No.
But the thing is, to have a release date, we now know release dates are not yearly now. They're much, much longer now, and even longer now. But to film a franchise, to film a film that you're not too sure how it's going to go, release it in 96 and then have a sequel straight away in 97, which means they must have been filming straight away after they finished the first one.
That's a good point.
Liev Schreiber's, I think, first big film was X-Men in 2000, playing Sabretooth.
Before that,
I knew him from a few films before, because I knew he was a big actor. But big franchise film,
I think they did have quite a tight shooting schedule.
That's a tight turnaround to release a sequel a year after.
Yeah, again, this Scream was ridiculously, at the time, huge. It was huge. It's equivalent of a Marvel film now.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah Michelle Gellar did it without reading the script apparently as well.
Yeah.
She just agreed to be in it.
The box office numbers for Scream at the time was unheard of for a horror. I mean, in the 90s, because horror was wasn't getting much kind of views. Nobody was watching much of it.
Well, to me, it was. Even though I didn't go and see it, I know, and we're like 3 years off the new release of the Star Wars films in 1999. Remember that, to me, at that time was the first time there was a film out that everyone was talking about globally as a franchise. And I remember it was kind of not a hype as they would have had in the 70s and 80s for Star Wars. But yeah, you're right. There was a a massive. Everyone was going to Scream, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think I was in the cinema for quite a while as well, because I remember, I think I went to see it quite late on, because I was only about 16 or something.
Well, I read today it was the biggest horror film of all time when it first came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You jacked yourself up seeing films too young, Sean.
They adjusted
What?
for inflation. It's the second biggest now or something.
Is it not an 18?
It is an 18, yes, but I was quite tall.
See, I was 18. I was 18.
My girl with Macaulay Culkin was a 12, and I seen it when I was 9. So
I bet you cried like a bitch.
The bees! Get away from the bees!
That film haunts me more than any horror film ever has.
That should have been an 18.
Yeah, you should have got counselling after you came out of seeing My Girl.
How dare you, Kel? Come on, he survived. He survived 2 robbers twice in his own home and in New York, and then a bee kills him.
You do know that's what was getting filmed, don't you?
Not a real person. He's not a real boy.
It's actually still alive.
I know. I seen when he was wearing the mask of his own face from Home Alone. Did you see that?
Yeah.
On Twitter, it's like him doing that one. So,
sorry, I was just going to say that actually, for me, saying that there was bits of Scream 2 I didn't like, there's actually one of the best scenes I think I've ever seen in any of the Scream films, never mind horror, is the when she's at the back of the police car.
Well, that's my favourite scene from all.
It's so good.
Sean, right, stop, because that's my final point.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so we're going to run over favourite scenes from the franchise so we can save that up.
Can you say the end credits?
Yeah. I'm going to have to cut this out because this is all the funny shit. Right, yeah. So I'll ask that at the end, and then you can say what it is. So moving on from Scream 1 to Scream 2. So obviously, Nathan, you watched 1. You were okay with it.
Yeah.
What happened with Scream 2? What did you think when you seen 2?
It was just too contrived, you know. It's like Sean said, it got too like. If anyone watched that film and figured out who was the killer, they're genius. But an absolute genius. It's like watching. Remember the old Taggart episode back in the day when there was like some girl guide in the 3rd episode that you saw for 3 seconds was the killer. It was like that again. You know, it's just.
Yeah.
And it just basically felt like the same film, but they just moved it to a different place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know that's sort of the point. You know, the second film in a horror franchise is always, the main characters move somewhere else and something the sort of the horror follows them, as it were. And I know that happens, but it's just very unoriginal. I thought, nah.
Yeah, but we've got to also be careful in that because it's a horror we're watching and not a thriller like a detective.
I don't
on it. That's the problem. I think maybe this is the problem. It's like, is it a horror? Like, no. Okay, Freddy Krueger, Jason. It's always the same person. It's someone running away from the person who's trying to kill you.
I don't think any of them are. I wouldn't class any of the Scream films as horror films.
Slasher, I would say.
Slasher, thrillers, whodunit, a wee bit in there as well. I wouldn't. They're not. They're jumpy. They're not scary.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have a nightmare after watching Scream.
No.
Apart from Courtney Cox's friend, the 3rd one.
No, it's her face in the bloody 4th one. She almost looks like Ghostface. So she did that much fucking work done. She's coming out to fucking do the weather, and you're like, Ghostface! Like, no, it's Gail. Like, all right.
Yeah. No. Just. No. Just.
So you don't feel it trans.
I understood watching it what they were trying to do with it and the point of it, but they're just, for me, it was just trying to be too clever.
Okay. Sean, what do you feel about it moving from being, like you said, as a standalone that it was originally? How do you feel about it moving from 1 to 2, becoming quite clearly a franchise from 1 to 2?
Well, obviously, I was happy with that. I loved the first one. I wanted to see more, and because the internet was just Well, maybe not, but over here, I think it was. Anyway, was becoming a bigger thing, message boards, stuff like that. I didn't have it at home. I was at college at the time and had decided that I was quitting the course I was on to start another one. So instead of going to class, I would go to the library and just read up about Scream, films, download scripts, everything I could. So I was like trying to figure out what was going to happen in Scream 2 before it even came out. But I enjoyed it at the time. I think it's good. I think its major problem for me is because it's got some great deaths in it and some good, really good scenes, but it's also got some kind of crap death scenes. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar just getting thrown off a balcony. Like in any other film, she could probably survive that. Do you know what I mean? I just kind of, I think the thing for me is like in horrors or thrillers or anything like that was a killer. It's kind of a rule, and it does make it a bit hard, but you really should see the killer within the first, as a writer anyway, within the first 10 minutes. You don't know they're the killer, but you should see the killer in the first 10 minutes so that you're able to find out or guess who they are. And with Scream, you do, because you get the first opening scene, and then the immediate scene after that is Sydney's bedroom, and Billy comes in the window. Yeah. So you're immediately, but he gets arrested right away, and they give away, they give an alibi and stuff. So, sorry?
You need to see the kill in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's a rule of writing.
This is like Scream 6 right now.
That's that.
Which one is it?
And you can't.
10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like there's films where it doesn't really happen in the first 10 minutes of Scream because the first scene is like 20 minutes long or something. But it's the second scene you introduce to the guy. Whereas in Scream 2, I don't know how long it takes before you meet Mickey, but it's quite a while.
Sure, is he not in it quite quick?
Well, it's maybe like the fourth or fifth scene. But
I thought he turns up with the friends almost pretty much straight after.
His first scene is in that classroom scene.
Okay.
I always thought he was trying to do like a Johnny Depp impression.
Yeah, I think like
he's like, oh, I'm young, I look like Johnny Depp. People around me are trying to say I'm the next Johnny Depp, so I'm going to play Johnny Depp being a serial killer.
I loved him.
Is this Billy or Mickey?
The first one.
Oh, Billy, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Because even in the script for the second one, literally whenever they show scenes of Stab, the guy's just called Johnny instead of Billy. His name is Johnny.
Clever, very clever.
Clever. Yeah.
What do you think about the Tony as a franchise? But obviously moving from 1 to 2, and it clearly after 2 is opening itself up to become quite a big thing after that and become a franchise. How did you feel about it?
Well, like you said, I was very confused about how quickly they got the second one out. And clearly they must have been surprised by that. And then obviously Sean saying that certain actors never seen the script and were like, you just come on set, we'll give you this amount of money. Here's the scenes and stuff for the second one. But I did think the second one was, I think, slightly a little bit, some of the scenes were a little bit better in terms of like characters, but it was just clearly like, if you think like, the whole Courtney Cox and David Arquette, obviously they were starting to get married and, start to, engaging with each other. And clearly they were like, and Courtney at the time actually was probably one of the biggest actors on that set and quite powerful as well.
Yeah.
At that time, she's quite a powerful actress. Maybe not in Hollywood, but on TV. It's Courtney Cox. She's been one of the biggest franchises. She's got a lot of money behind her. And she's like, right, if you want me, I want more scenes with David.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So you kind of seen that, and then there's a lot of romance between them. And obviously now we know what's went on, and them getting married and stuff. But the thing is, though, like this is me watching it now. Of now what we know, it's very hard to do. These are why I love these things. Though it's very hard to put your, like your head in how it was back then, before we'd seen any other movies or things like that. So it's I enjoyed the second one more than the first.
Cool.
That's all I can say. But then it was like the third and the fourth we were going to go into. It was like, let's try and make as much money as we can.
Yeah. So for me, obviously, I'm a huge Scream fan, as I've said a million times now. But it brings us on to talking about the absolute fucking car crash that is Scream 3. I don't mind saying that because it's a fucking car crash. It's so many brilliant moments in it, but that's all it is, brilliant moments. And then it's a mess. Absolutely.
Final Destination's better. Sequels are better than Scream 3.
Yeah. I just don't know what it was about it, because it felt like everything was in the right place. It just felt poorly acted. It felt as if it was if it was rushed. It was even shot exactly the same, which I get because it's Wes Craven. It still did it, but something was wrong. Something just didn't work. I mean, like the whole Jenny McCarthy scene where she gets murdered. Fuck me, that was horrendously boring. I just didn't, and I didn't care about any of the characters either. That was a problem. Parker Posey, who is a tremendous actress when she seems to be directed well, just didn't seem directed in it at all. She was just eccentric and just a bit weird.
What's her name? Mortimer as well, is a good actress.
She was a bland. Obviously, you were supposed to feel as if she was pointed at as the red herring a million times.
She was actually originally one of the killers.
Right.
Which makes sense, partly because she, even right up while they were filming, she was meant to be one of the killers, so that's why she's played it that way. So it makes no sense then when she's not, because she's been acting weird the whole time.
Yeah, because that makes it feel off though. Obviously, it seems as if obviously they have changed it. So, but that's you're left with this off feeling. Well, I was left with this just didn't seem right at all. Her acting didn't seem right. Didn't really fit in very well.
It's really weird because, like,
but she was supposed to be playing Sydney, wasn't she? And Sydney was a bit like that in the first film, where she didn't really fit in with all the other people.
Yeah,
so it sort of makes sense a little bit.
I mean, the other thing that really pissed me off was we still don't have technology that changes your voice to match someone else's actual voice. But yet we were supposed to fucking believe it. Yeah, we're supposed to.
That's the thing. Sorry, I forgot to say. That's the thing I loved about the second one. It was like, we need to show the update of technology. Oh, now we know who's phoning you.
Yeah.
And everyone's got a mobile phone now.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, you couldn't do Scream nowadays the way that he does it.
Yeah.
Unless it's
except Jenny McCarthy's phone, which had big green numbers on it.
Like FaceTime.
Well, have you seen Drew Barrymore's "If Casey Had Lived" thing?
Yeah, she just doesn't answer him.
She just doesn't answer him. He's like, "Stop ghosted me."
That was brilliant. That was utterly brilliant. I absolutely loved that.
But it's so true. It'd be like, "What's your favourite scary movie?" Just dinged.
Yeah.
Like, come on, Casey, come on, just answer.
You know that up until about a week before they made the credits, it was going to be called Scary Movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the original name for it. Yeah.
And then
today, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I think they realised that. Obviously, I'm not selling this to you, Nathan. You didn't like it, but I think they realised that it was a good kind of scary movie. Actually, a good scary movie. So, scary movie is about a shit title if you're going to actually try and sell it as being something properly scary. Because it obviously went on to be what it was. Take my good hand. Yeah.
But even in the third one, though, you have at that point. I mean, Liev Schreiber at that point was starting to get a bit sort of more well known, and they just do exactly the same as they do in the first film. They kill off the biggest star straight away. It's just like, what are you?
Well, see, that annoyed me because if anything, I feel like Dewey or Gale should have been killed off in the second one as well. Like they lived too long.
Yeah.
And in Cotton actually is one of the most interesting characters who I'd like to have seen more of.
Yeah.
And he gets killed off in the first scene. And it's a pretty shit death scene as well.
I'm sorry, this is what pisses me off about the third one. The first, second, and fourth all have amazingly interesting, those little first 5-minute set pieces that introduce you to the Scream. Someone gets hunted down, called by Ghostface, run about the house, slashed, and then you get the slash across the screen, scream. And then, but his one just didn't seem. It started off in the car, and then it goes to a different place, and then it was about a different girl. It wasn't even remotely. Didn't feel like Scream. That was my point. Just felt just so weird. Didn't work. And I completely and utterly agree with you. I think Cotton Weary's character is.
And even the killer's going. Where's Sydney? How on earth is Cotton going to know where bloody Sydney is? It's just utter nonsense.
It would have made more sense if it was Dewey or something. Do you know what I mean? Because he's been like, he'll know.
Exactly.
So he dies in the first 5 minutes. Should have been like, holy shit, he's dead in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. Let's not get into theories for Scream 5 until the end, just in case you want to go for it, because we're closing on Scream 5 theories. But I was unbelievably disappointed in 3. It felt like almost comedy. I mean, there was two other things that got me in it. Jay and Silent Bob.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What the? Why?
But Kevin Smith, of all people, should have known.
But why? Why even have them in it? That doesn't even remotely fucking make sense.
It takes you so out of the film.
Yeah, you're like, whoever came up with that really just obviously must have had a fucking, don't know, like some smack on their cornflakes that morning.
I think it was something to do with, in one of the Jay and Silent Bob films, they referenced Wes Cravens Scream 4. You know, like Back to the Future with Jaws 19 or something. They were anticipating a Scream 4. And so they somehow returned the favour by having them in the film. But you just take people right out of the film at that point in time.
Yeah, I was lost for about 10 minutes
We've
after
seen
that.
it so many occasions with stuff like Game of Thrones and all that, having Ed Sheeran and
yeah.
You just should don't. And we're talking about breaking the fourth wall. That was really breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
You know,
too much.
You may as well just had the whole fucking Friends cast turn up.
Yeah.
You know, at a bar.
Like a Superman dressed extra Batman film.
Oh, you were breaking up there.
Yeah.
I said it's like having a Superman dressed extra in a Batman film.
Yeah, that would never happen. That's never going to happen.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing that really pissed me off was, and I properly laughed at this when I watched it today, was Dewey is in the final house, the guy's house at the end. He's fighting Ghostface, and he's at the top of the stairs, and Gail's at the bottom of the stairs, and Ghostface is standing over her. And Dewey tries to shoot. He's got no bullets left. Ghostface pulls out a knife and flings it at him, and it hits him on the forehead by the handle, and he falls down the stairs.
Has a pure slapstick comedy kind of moment in it.
It's not even funny slapstick. You know what I mean?
It's not funny, but what I mean is it doesn't belong in that film. Although there's funny moments, that's too far.
I genuinely, when I watched that today, I actually was sitting on the couch and I went, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" I put my head in my hands. I was like, "That's awful."
But the whole thing is,
I think
but the whole Dewey character and the whole cops in the first one. I don't know if there's a scene in the cop, but there's a sticker on one of the PCs, and it says "Comedy Cops" in the background. So I would love to look into Wes Craven's idea of really stupid, dumb cops, and maybe he's making a reference of culture in America about how.
I mean, in that when you're saying that, there's a scene when the camera, I think Sydney is in the camera. What reason? She's now in the police station, and the camera starts off in the bullpen, kind of turns around into her, and as it goes round, all the coppers have got donuts.
Yeah.
Literally a delivery, a tray, two trays of donuts. You're like,
it's like a scene out of The Simpsons.
It's like, that's what it is. Yeah, it's awful, absolutely terrible.
But the second one, they were like, okay, we need to get a little bit more serious about this, because people's expectations. So if this was happening, she would get bodyguards, but she wouldn't know, because to have two cops follow her like that is like a lot of money. No one's going to pay that.
Yeah.
But do you not think after the first one, the Dewey character there's not really much point to it? I don't think. I just what's he even there for?
Yeah, because I thought he would have started to change it up as an actor, but he didn't.
I think he worked in 2.
Yeah.
And I think by the time you get to 3, his character's pointless.
Yeah, I think he worked it. And if they had just left the scene where he gets horribly stabbed as she's watching through the glass and stuff like that, it is a really vicious scene. And if they just left that as his death, that would have been pretty horrible.
Yeah,
they killed Randy off, which I'm still pissed off about. So why couldn't they kill him?
Yeah.
Randy was a great death, though. That was a really.
At the start of Scream 3, they actually Gail mentions to him, "I thought you'd never leave." What's the name of the town again?
Woodsboro.
Yeah. She actually says, "I thought you said you'd never leave," and because he's living in the trailer in that actress's garden, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, like, him as an actor's missed a massive point. Like, as an actor, out of this franchise we're talking about, like, he could have had a really cool character arc. Like, start out really young and dumb, get stabbed in the first one, the second one, and the third one, he could have been like a really tough, mean cop, as if this is actually hardened him and stuff like that.
No,
that would have been really cool to see.
A knife.
And but he's been knifed and stabbed, and he's had death, but then he's still back to the same person. You know, that stuff affects you. You know,
Yeah.
if it's affected Sydney as much as it has, why is it not? And Sydney hadn't even been touched from the first and second one. She hadn't even been like stabbed at all. And then all the other characters had been cut and stabbed, but they were more normal than Sydney.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah,
good point. No, it's not until the third one she gets stabbed by Mickey.
Yeah, until the third one.
Yeah.
Well, three of the characters have been stabbed. You know, who survived. The first and second, I'm just like,
I'd love to work out what the odds of surviving a stabbing actually are. Put it against Scream. Try and work out how many people.
Oh, 3 years live in Glasgow.
You live in Dublin. Just go out the front door.
You live in Dublin.
Just keep tabs of who's walking back. We Jimmy's no walk by in a few days. He's a goner.
If the pubs are open, just go into a really rough pub and just look for the guy called Chibs.
Yeah. Hello, I'm doing a survey.
Hello, Governites. I'm here to have a quick survey.
You stabbed me.
Then I get
How many have you been stabbed and lived?
all of them, hands up.
Yeah.
So Scream 3, really? Anyone? Was there any redeeming points for anybody at Scream 3?
But again, like, you look at the cast again. They've upped the cast again. If you look at who the cast are now, you're thinking, how did that fail?
I think there is good points to it, but I think it almost became a parody of itself. And I know they're meant to kind of be a parody of horror films, but it became a parody of Scream films. Yeah. And there's a great cast, but there's too many new characters, and none of them are given any time for you to actually like them.
Yeah, I didn't care about any.
What I felt one of the problems is I know I already said that Dewey or Gail should have died in the second one, but I feel like some people from the second one should have lived to come into the third one. Do you know what I mean? Like, they basically just introduced everything and killed them off, or they were the killer. Yeah. If you had brought them into the third one, then you've got people who we already know and we're attached to, and we want to see if they live through the third one, instead of just a brand new set of characters, none of which we get attached to. And then there was a couple of cool maybe deaths, like the with the facts in the script was kind of cool. It wasn't like a horrible death scene or anything, but it was like a kind of.
It was more like Final Destination.
It wasn't. It was more like Final Destination, but it was a bit imaginative at least. Whereas I felt like some of the other deaths in it weren't great. And like I said, I think at the end when she kind of not became the killer, but took the place of that, like. You thought she was dead, and then she disappeared and jumped up for one last scare. But then there's no way that he could have done all those killings himself. I don't think, anyway. He's only one killer in the third film, and I don't feel like he could have done it himself. Yeah. And everyone was waiting to find out like who was the third killer from the first or second films, because there was a theory online and stuff. And then it just didn't. I don't know. It didn't land.
It didn't land, but I'm glad when we got, was it 11 years later, we got Scream 4. 2011?
Yeah.
I think so. So Scream 4 returns with most of the main cast. You get Sydney, you got Dewey, and you've got Gail all back. So what do we feel about the fourth one? Nathan?
Didn't watch it. Not interested.
Oh, I see, there you go. He's checked out, but this is a good point of why we discuss films like this, because like Nathan, you're an avid film watcher. So to know why somebody would relatively say number one's okay, and then think the other ones are shit. Of like just shows how someone can be cut out of a series for what reasons. That interests me in a part of discussion.
I think that, like I said, it started off pretty well and it got gradually worse. And I'm sort of thinking, well, the only reason to do a fourth one is to make some more money off it. And whenever they make a film for that reason, they're always terrible. So I'm just like not interested in going to watch that.
Just so you know, Nathan, your internet's getting a bit sketchier.
I don't know what's.
I think you're on CompuServe dial-up.
Nathan, behind you! No!
There's a delay, just like a Scream 1.
Just as I said it.
My internet's been a bit ridiculous at the moment.
We can hear you.
I'll log out and log back in, okay?
Yeah, cool. I've got what I need for you for info anyway, but before we go on to the end. So,
I know we've already talked about Scream 1, but do you know that in that scene where Jamie Kennedy's shouting at the television, he's shouting like Jamie Lee Curtis, going like, Jamie, he's behind you. That's actually Skeeter Reach in the costume.
Is it really?
Yeah, he has to be in the costume at one point. So I don't know if he knew he was the killer at that point, but he has to be in the costume. And then apparently when Neve Campbell shouts, she says Jamie as well, by mistake.
See, that would be interesting if which actors knew who were the killers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'll just say now, when I did my first TV series, Hope Springs, I didn't know that I'd killed someone until I'd filmed.
Hey, hold on.
Until I filmed episode 6, and they came. By the way,
listen,
you're the killer.
Tony. I'm quite happy with like not putting a spoiler warning up for Scream. A show you were in, and you've just ruined it for anyone who's not watched it.
I didn't know I was the killer. So I was doing.
Hopefully, if my editing's good enough, I'll.
They went, oh, we thought it'd be better, you just act normal. No one will guess. I was like, well, I didn't even bloody know I was the killer. Until I got the script, I was like, why am I burying a body underneath the floorboards? So they went, yeah, you killed him. I was like, wow.
You're like, right, cool, there you go. Yeah, dirty killer. There you are. A killer in our midst in the Geekified team. Jeez, oh. You're officially...
Well, it's kind of a spoiler, but it's not a spoiler. I thought I'd killed him, but yeah.
You're officially a final girl.
Yeah. So that was a fun conversation in the trailer. It was like, what? Does anyone else know?
Scream 4. Sean?
I was looking forward to it because I had, heard that Kevin Williamson was coming back and it was going to be a new trilogy with Wes Craven and everybody from the first one, or for the first 3, and I thought, well, this could be a chance to rectify Scream 3. I didn't love it at all. There's good parts to it and stuff like that, and I get how it's got to be updated. I didn't like. I don't know if I didn't like the reveal of the killer is quite ingenious because it's almost meant to be that it seemed like she was taken over from Sydney as the final girl, and then it reveals she's actually the killer, which is quite cool. But I also just didn't like it. I didn't really. Maybe I'm just getting too old for liking the motivation of it. It just let me down. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. Come on, like it's from 1996 to 2011. The audience has grown. The audience who's seen the previous one are older. There's been much more intelligent, let's just say, clever scripts and filming. Like even filming techniques have developed, since that point. So you need to be a little bit more clever and much more better if you're going to come out, with Scream 4.
Yeah.
But they just stuck with the same thing, like 1996, 1997, Scream 3. It was like, give us something new, give us something,
And again, Gail and Dewey survive. It's getting beyond a joke at this point. Like one of them, 3 of them has to die.
Yeah, I think for me, Scream 4, it felt like what I felt about the 2018 Halloween. think it was a really, really good call to your kind of first one. They kind of managed to make it similar to the first one and ground it a little bit better than 2 and 3 did. 2 and 3 did become a little bit away from Woodsboro. This one felt like it was definitely more kind of homely and more about family and stuff like that. Obviously, it was family a bit at the end. But I just felt that, like you're saying, Sean, it didn't really hit the mark to a certain degree. It just didn't feel as if it worked. Again, for me, the reason I think it didn't work for me is I don't think I cared about anybody. I only cared about Gail, Sydney, and Dewey. That was it.
Yeah. Don't is Olivia death scene? I think it is pretty brutal. The girl when they're watching from across the window to the bedroom. That was I was impressed by that. That was a good death scene.
Yeah, on the bed.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
You talk about family as well. So where was Sydney's aunt in the first one when her dad's missing and she has to stay with her friend because she's just been attacked? You think that if you're flipping your dead sister's, your sister's dead, she's been murdered, do you think you're going to be quite close to your niece? Do you know what I mean? Obviously, she wasn't there because they didn't even anticipate she had an aunt until the fourth one, where they went, let's give her an aunt so that we can give her a niece so that the niece can be a wee psycho. But these are questions that need to be answered.
There are questions that they need answered, and unfortunately they fucking weren't.
No, they weren't. And then she gets quite clear that it has to be the girl that kills her own mum, but somehow she manages to get to a party before everybody else about 5 minutes later on the other side of town. And I'm like, there's a lot of moments I felt in that film where it wouldn't have been possible for the killers to get to where they were getting to. Yeah. Given when it reveals who the two people are, I was like, well, that's you've kind of. Also, she doesn't actually. If you try to work out who kills who, she doesn't actually kill a lot of people.
Mm.
The one who's the niece who's come out at the end and saying she's a big psycho and wants to do all this, she doesn't actually kill that. It must be the other guy that kills most of the people because she's there watching it or running away or whatever half the time.
Yeah. I did get it. I did get one out of two things right when I was watching that film. I felt that there was two killers again. I felt there was going to be two, because like you're saying, he was trying to work out like where people were as I was watching it. I was like, you're not really seeing everybody at the same time. It did feel as if it was a bit further spread, so I thought there had to be two killers. But I did get it completely wrong. I did not think it was those two.
No, because you wouldn't really think it was the girl who's getting targeted.
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite clever.
I actually really, really had money on it being. I've just watched it. I can't remember her name. Hayden Panettiere.
Kirby, she's called in it.
Kirby, that's it.
Yeah.
Definitely thought it was her. I was absolutely sold that it was her until literally right at the end where.
Casting wise, yeah, I would have said.
Yeah, because she comes across as she's obviously ridiculously pretty, but she's got that villainy kind of thing about her, the look of her. She looks as if she could play a baddie quite well.
This is interesting. Now, is that you going on the screen formula of what you've been told from the first, second, and third, or from your other, other films that you watch, your other film knowledge?
A little bit of both. Because you would, if you were going to cast like Billy in the first one, I mean the boyfriend, Skeet Ulrich, he's a bloody villain to look at him. I mean, you're not going to put him in the film if he's a good guy.
Well, exactly. Well, he's a boy who fries frogs with a magnifying glass when he's like 6 years old in America.
Yeah, he looks evil. He looks an evil face.
You know that, yeah.
And then Jerry O'Connell in 2, I knew he wasn't the killer because it's Jerry O'Connell. You don't put Jerry O'Connell as a bloody murder person.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel as if he would be cast as a killer because he doesn't come across like a killer. But then again, is that what one of the problem is about the franchises? Is that they're definitely casting people who look like they wouldn't do the things that they would do or do. Whereas Matthew Lillard looked and behaved like an absolute fruit loop in the first one.
Yeah.
So you kind of knew it could have been him.
Do you know he's had a cameo in every film since?
Yeah, he was in the party in 4. Where was he in 3?
He's in. I can't remember where. I don't even know if he's in the third one. I think he is, but he's in 2. He's definitely in 2 somewhere. Can't remember where. But he's got a cameo in everyone since. Apparently, he was supposed to be at one point the killer in the third one or something. So they were going to say that he'd lived and that he was in jail and he was orchestrating it all from prison.
Well, that's the thing. You never see any deaths or funerals or.
Yeah.
Just say it's the end, you know.
But they were kind of like, that's a bit ridiculous, but nobody's going to believe that he lived or whatever. But apparently at one point...
Yeah, Billy definitely got shot in the head, but...
I don't think they shot him in the head, did they?
No, he got a TV on his head.
Of a television.
Oh, he got a TV in the head, yeah. You could survive that.
He could. He was electrocuted, but again, he can survive that as well.
He ad-libbed a lot of his lines, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And so does Jamie Kennedy, but apparently when he... Like, as a Skeeter Reese tries to pass him the phone and he hits him and he's like, hit me with the phone, Dick. That was an accident. Like, he didn't mean to hit him with the phone.
And he goes, because he's obviously kind of starting to get a bit woozy, and he's like, ow!
I think I'm dying here.
Yeah, he's really, I love Matthew Lillard. I wish he was in more stuff. Well, I think that's a decent summary of the four that they've had. And obviously, we now know just a month, 2 months ago, Courtney Cox, Neve Campbell, and David Arquette have all signed up for Scream 5. Where are they going to go? What's going to happen in number 5? And obviously, we're going to have a quick discussion about it before we finish this cast. But put in the comments what you think is going to happen if anyone is watching, because I'd love to, genuinely interested if anybody out there, what they think is going to happen in season 5. So what's your theories? Hit me. Go for it, anyone.
I would say I don't really care, which is true. But I think it's going to. You probably find it. Is it a Scream 5 and that's going to be it? If that's going to be it, then you'll find it'll probably be one of the 3 main people. You know,
orchestrating it all along.
Yeah, or like you said, Matthew Lillard. If he's been in the 3 films, maybe they'll bring back an evil twin brother or something. Because they've had such ridiculous sort of links to Sydney as the killers and everything. You never know; it might be something really bizarre like that. So whatever it is, it'll be atrociously bad.
But tell us what you really feel, Nathan.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we are getting the directors and writers from Ready or Not. If you haven't seen Ready or Not, please go and see that. It's absolutely incredible.
Not Wes Craven and what's his name again? No.
It'd be a bit hard. He's dead, mate.
Is he?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he was going to make another couple before, but he popped his clogs, sadly. So we're getting Ready or Not. If you've seen that, you'll know how well that was shot, made, produced, and looked as a horror movie, and what a bonkers storyline it was. So, what do you think, Sean?
I haven't actually seen it. I've heard a lot of good things about Ready or Not, so I want to watch it. I think if these guys are coming on board, I don't think it's going to be one movie. I don't think these guys have went in and pitched, I think, for this. I don't think it's been like they've been hired to do it. I think they've actually went in and said, we'd like to do Scream 5.
After you schooled me after you schooled me he just schooled me about 2 hours ago on who the writer was, because I just briefly read some stuff, and Sean kindly corrected me and told me who it actually was. I did read a little bit more about it, talking about they are the ones that went to the film company and pitched.
Was it like a Netflix release or?
No, it's a full cinema release.
2022.
Yeah. So I don't think
the old rebooting nonsense with it.
I don't think they're going in there to do that for one film. I think they're going in there to pitch a whole new, kick it off the franchise. I doubt it'll be called Scream 5 when it comes out. It'll be Scream something else, Scream Reborn, Scream something, I don't know.
Keep on screaming.
Call it Yale.
Or
I've really no idea what they'll do, because I've done pretty much everything, so it has to be something fresh, something different. I think it's went too long for it to be like, oh, Sydney's the killer all along.
Yeah,
I think but that you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, I feel like, oh, come on, yeah.
But I would like to see something.
Maybe it won't be
really interesting.
Something different.
And if I swear to God, if Dewey or Gale has not died by the end of this film, I'm making a sequel myself.
I'll join you. I've got a theory. I've got a film that I want to do with it anyway.
Maybe they should be the first big death. Those two.
I think that would show you that they really mean business. As if one of those two, or Sydney, was the first death.
Yeah.
Straight away, bang.
What about yourself, Tony? What do you feel for 5?
Well, I've got 2 issues still to talk really quickly, and my theory of how I would relive the Scream franchise One, obviously, we know the Ghostface was an actual Halloween costume before it got picked up.
Yeah.
So if I was Sydney, just go to the American government and go, stop making these costumes. So kill the person who made it.
Well, apparently it's a different mask.
Is it? But the thing is, it is based on the painting, The Scream.
Yeah. Apparently the guy who does the voice of Ghostface has said that the mask is going to be different in some way.
For this one?
For
They
the
did
film,
that
yeah.
in the TV
Oh, yeah.
show.
Well, see, I don't think they can do that, though.
They can't do
people
that.
will be really
I
pissed
don't
off.
like. They did it in the TV show and it was shit.
Fucking pissed off.
Yeah, and then in the season that you've not seen 3, Sean,
Yeah.
Ghostface is back and it's absolute garbage, just a dumpster fire.
There's a TV show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ghostface has appeared and stuff.
I actually enjoyed the first
Yeah.
season or two.
First 2 seasons are good. I quite enjoyed it. It's very, very in line with Scream.
I'm so pleased I didn't know that was a thing.
I'll send you a DVD.
Second thing, Nathan might. Is there a Scream Funko Pop?
The Ghostface is, yeah.
Fucking, that'll be worth a lot of money. I've never seen that. I might go and get that. Third, this is how I would do it. I don't think. Well, okay, Scream 5's coming out. Like Son said, we don't know if it is actual Scream 5. We don't know, is it adding on, is linear? You know, if I was going to do the whole Scream thing, I would go way, way, way back and do a prequel up to the rape and murder of Sydney's mum. And not call it Scream. Put out there under a different name. There's no one getting killed. It's like a psychological thriller, and then at the end, whoever did the actual raping goes, look, and the 2 boys who seen the raping of it, and then it's Halloween night, and then he hands over, like, go trick or treating. Here's your costume. That's the last scene. And it's
That's interesting.
So it's not a Scream film, but it's like a prequel to Scream.
In the universe of Scream.
In the universe of Scream. That's how they should do it. Be in the universe of Scream, but go back or do something different.
Yeah.
Scream really at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sean?
I think they should go back to. They should basically carry it on from Scream 2 and just say that Scream 3 and 4 were just stab movies.
Yes, and they appeared as, and they got paid as.
You could bring back Conweary. You could do a lot of different stuff and just say, "Oh, those last 2 films were just stab movies."
They do that, and they got paid.
So I'm going to give you a certain site came up with the top 10 fan theories that Scream 5 that might be true. So 2 of the ideas that I had, which was mine, were in this. So I'll just read through them and just give us a quick yes or no of what you think. Number 10, Sydney is Ghostface.
Too obvious. That's such a Star Wars thingy's the Sith.
Yeah.
Nah, don't do it.
I don't get it because she's been in too much plight the whole time.
Yeah.
Number 9, Randy didn't actually die and he is Ghostface.
No.
Nah, I like Randy as a person.
Didn't even get a reaction out of most of these. That was a bad one.
I love him as a character. I hated him when he died, though.
Number 8, Kirby had Hayden Panettiere is alive and she's coming back as Ghostface.
Well, I did see that. Who was it? They say that she right as before he died. Wes Cravens says, "Well, you never saw her die. She was still moving the last time he saw her, so she could be back." She was originally, I think, going to come back when they were making a Scream 5. So,
okay,
could see her coming back as a character. I don't know why, but
unless she signed a contract for 2 films,
yeah,
they'll need to honour it.
Number 7, Scream 5 is really a meta movie. I'll read a little bit into this. Another theory is what if Scream 5 was about the original cast of Scream making the movie or a sequel in real life?
So that is like in 4, and it's one way to do it, but it's like.
Is that just Scream 3 then?
Yeah, it was almost Scream. I just think the whole thing is rebooted.
Number 6, Dewey is actually the bad guy. And the person goes on to discuss the fact that multiple times throughout all the movies and all of his injuries, he moves his arm and legs and all the problems that he supposedly had, they change. and he's been seen in, obviously, I don't know if it's acting or maybe this is.
I think that's just bad acting.
But did not do that. Was that not a scary movie though?
Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it? They did the whole
he ripped off the
usual
moustache.
suspects thing.
Normal, yeah. So that theory has already been done in the Scream scary movie franchise.
Yeah. This was my theory. This is my theory of what they're going to do. This is pretty much the same. Number 5, Sydney dies at the start, but she doesn't really die. So my theory was we'll kill her off literally straight away, but the whole thing will be a ruse to actually catch the last killer. So she won't actually be dead, and she'll finally get her at the end. But I thought that's the only way they could do it.
Yeah,
well, that's good. It's kind of like people were saying about Harry Potter. You know, how do you end this? How do you end the killings?
Mm-hmm.
And her doing a sacrifice of herself. I'm dead now. You know, I'll kill myself. I won't give you the satisfaction of you killing me.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Sorry?
Like a factory of ghost-faced killers somewhere or something.
Yeah, they're just churning them out. It was Ghostface School.
Yeah.
It's like that TV show, what's it called? The Following with Kevin Bacon, when they've got the serial killer cult.
Yeah, the guys actually under the masks went to RADA. Sean will know all about
that. It took me a minute to get that there.
Yeah, I believe that's still on YouTube. I'll find the video and I'll put a link in the description. The guys under those masks are actually just really angry at out of work actors.
It's funny you should see The Following, because that's written by the same guy.
Is it? All right.
Yeah, Kevin Williamson.
That was quite good, but after got very ridiculous as well.
Number 4, Gail becomes Ghostface to help her career.
I really hope none of these are the film.
They were kind of saying that in the second one, saying it's a sequel and do a sequel to get another sequel.
Yeah.
And within the film, and Thingy mentioned that anyway. You know, make more murders, so there's a sequel, so she makes more money off the book. So too obvious.
This is number 3 was the second one that I thought that they might do. I don't know how they would do it, but this was my idea. Every member of the 3 survivors gets killed in the opening. Just wipe it right back to the start. Yeah.
I'll say that, but I got disappointed in what was the second film? Oh, what was it? It was an army movie that was toys and stuff, and it had Channing Tatum in it and stuff.
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe's second one. And he got and Tatum got killed within the 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
Tatum was a big star at that time, and people wanted to go and see him, including me. And he got killed in the first 15-20 minutes.
They replaced him with Bruce Willis.
Because I thought I was going to get to see him for a good bit of the movie. He got killed in 20 minutes.
Done that in every film, haven't they? They've killed a big character right at the start. So.
Yeah, but it's like, especially what's happening now. Like, well, no one's going to the cinema now, and no one will probably ever go back to the cinema. When they started doing that, like going in the trailer, this big star's in this movie, and you see this star in the whole entire trailer, and you go, and gets killed straight off away. I'm like, okay, you're paying this actor for people to come and pay the ticket money, and then they're not in the show.
I fully agree with that, Tony.
It's the equivalent. I'm sorry, it's the equivalent of being on stage, which and the understudy going on. Now, understudies are always amazing and incredible. But there's always a to the audience.
Yeah.
But they did do that in Scream, didn't they? Because Drew Barrymore was sold as being the lead. She was the reason if they went to go and see it, and then she was killed
clever.
off,
which
was her idea.
Time in 1996, but that's because they wanted to do something different. That is the only time Scream was out of the box, very clever. We're going to kill off a big star straight away.
So that's the point I've been making all night, is the fact that after the first one, it's just the same shit over and over again.
Yeah.
They won't do anything different with this one because they know it'll make money.
Yeah.
Number 2, your last 2 left. What have I got? Why do I want a survey, YouTube? Thank you. Sorry. Your last one. Emma from the TV show and Sydney will work together.
They might. Yeah, she might get a part in it.
But she was very good.
It'd be a way of finishing off the cliffhanger to season 2.
Yeah. Don't watch season 3. And then the final one, which I think is quite interesting because it's been done before. The final one, which is obviously the top one, Scream 5 will be a sequel directly from the first film, which I think, Sean mentioned, you thought?
Oh, I said maybe after the second film, but yeah.
Yeah, I do think they should go back, either prequel or between the first and the second.
Yeah, so this was Halloween. Halloween has just done that with the Jamie Lee Curtis. Everything in between, gone. So
It works.
Halloween's done that so many times, though.
Yeah.
It's when like, oh yeah, 3 and 4 or whatever didn't exist. This one's, and then they've went, actually no, those ones didn't exist either.
Totally. Like they do Scream 1, and then 24 years later or 25 years later, this is going to be Scream reboot or whatever they'll call it. And then what's happened in between?
Yeah.
That's why I don't think they should, unless they start the film nowadays with the 3 surviving actors telling their kids of what happened, and then it goes back way back to the prequel. So those 3 stars are in it, only for a bit.
Yeah.
And they're telling
I'm genuinely interested in what they're going to do. Because like I said, this is my favourite horror franchise, so yeah. I'm very interested.
But they do need to be much more clever, much more really get to you this time.
Final thing for the episode is, what was your favourite scene? Sean?
Opening scene.
My favourite scene from the whole franchise?
Yeah, the whole franchise.
Well, I want to steal yours because I think you're going to say the same thing as me.
I'm going to say the same one, which is why I went to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is the police car scene. It's just so tense and so good. It's such a good idea.
And why does she not lift the mask?
Because it will end the film. It ends the entire history.
Fucking just rip it off, man.
Yeah, that's why I liked that. I enjoyed the fact that she went for the mask and then they get her pals fucking like punching her, go, get out the car, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you, Sean.
I think it's a great set piece.
Because for the first time, it lent again something different. You didn't know what was going to happen. You thought it was great. So this is what annoys me about the whole Scream franchise. They come up with amazing moments, amazing set pieces, i.e. the first one, Drew Barrymore, we're going to do something different, we're going to kill off a big star straight away. And then straight away the audience is on their toes going, oh my God, I don't know what's now going to happen. I thought I was going to see Drew Barrymore like for the whole film. Now I'm on my edge, tenterhooks. I don't know what I'm here for now.
Yeah.
And then finally, for a few 30, 40 seconds, they went back to that again. You didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Just waiting for that person to grab her.
Favourite scene, Tony? Is that yours as well?
Well, yeah, that scene, you know.
Wow, absolutely across the board.
Opening scene for me.
For the Casey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it went downhill from there. I'm only kidding. No, I thought it was just like Tony said, it was a bit of a sort of homage to Hitchcock and what he did in Psycho, when he got the biggest star in Hollywood and killed them off 20 minutes into the film, and sort of did it in here, and it's something that hadn't been done since then. And I mean, at the time, anybody else in that film, they were in other things, but they weren't particularly well known. Apart from, like you said, Courtney Cox was obviously at the height of Friends fame at that point. But the rest of them, no one knew them, so it was just a very, very, very brave thing to do that early on in a film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably my second favourite scene.
Now, do you know, there was something missing? I want to ask you guys if anyone can remember a scene before we close this. I was thinking there was a scene in this, in one of the Screams, I thought it was in either 2 or 3, of where somebody's got a gun, and I thought it was Ghostface had a gun, and they're in a prop studio, and they pull the wall of guns down, and then they're literally scrambling through the guns, trying to shoot each other. I thought that was in Scream. Does anyone remember what film that was in?
It's definitely not 1 and 2.
I was in Katie Moody. I'm only kidding.
I don't think that's Scream.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Is it?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, something like that.
Right.
Mr. and Mrs.
Definitely a film. I've seen it, but
it was all prop guns. It was all prop guns.
Oh, prop?
Yeah. In the film, it's all prop guns that are there, and they pull it over, and then they're trying to pick up, and they're all fake guns, apart from one which they dropped.
Well, in the third one, they have the bit with the fake knives, don't they?
Yeah, which was...
McCarthy gets killed.
which was done terribly. It could have been done so much better, but hey ho.
You notice Jenny McCarthy's, for no reason whatever, she just feels her tit at one point.
Yeah, she just literally just sitting there. I noticed, Nathan. I did notice. Definitely noticed that bit.
Like, what are you doing? For no reason. Oh, you're on the phone.
What I know this
In
is a
the
bit late
moment. In the moment.
because you've already asked our theories, but I've just thought of one
Okay.
that I'm kind of stealing from Knives Out here, but if they had like an opening scene in Scream 5 where the killer does this thing, they kill off somebody, maybe they kill Dewey, something like that, and then they actually take their mask off and it's Sydney. So you think you know at the start of the film who the killer is already. You've done away with the whole who is it? You know who it is, but you're wondering why. Why is Sydney doing this? And maybe it's not her. Maybe by the end of it we figure out that Sydney didn't do it, or said there was something else going on. But it's the same as Knives Out, like where they told you right away who the killer was, but you were sitting wondering why, or are they actually the killer because you know they can't have given that away so early on. So that might mix things up a wee bit.
It's a good shout.
If they actually show you the killer right away, do away with the whole, who done it. But there is still a who done it element to it. But you're like, well, what the hell's going on here? Because it can't be that person.
Knives Out is probably the best film I've seen this year. Fantastic.
Knives Out was fantastic. Yeah,
really, definitely.
Very clever.
Very good. It's getting a sequel as well, which is amazing.
Possibly a TV show, I heard as well.
Everything's getting a TV show these days.
No.
That's the power of HBO Max and Disney Plus, isn't it?
That's it. See, when they put money to good projects like Justice League, we're all on to a winner. Anyway, that's the end of the episode.
Bye.
Chris, you never know. You'll get a Somerville Cup before long.
if I scream and shout about it enough, I'll keep trying, Nathan. I'll keep trying. Well, thank you very much for all joining us this evening. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you very much, Nathan.
Cheers.
And thank you very much, Tony. Thank you very much for tuning in. This has been the Geekified team. Please remember to like and subscribe. It's really important to the channel. And thank you very much. We can do this all day. Cool.